I worked as a lab assistant in a rural hospital. I was working the night shift and had to get some supplies that were stored in an unused floor of the facility. It had previously been a hospice unit. It was 3 in the morning and I was alone. I went into the unit and it was dark. It was pretty empty. The decor was old 90s style pink and blue. There were chairs and computers left behind. The old room that we kept supplies in was at the end of this long hallway lined with patient rooms. The doors to these rooms were all open. I like spooky shit, so I was down for the vibe. I walked to the end of the hall to the storage room, and that vibe quickly changed from cool to not cool. There were weird noises like shuffling coming from some of the rooms. An old 4-pole in one of the rooms tilted over a bit as I walked by. I hurried my steps and grabbed the flats of tubes I needed. Then, as one turned to go back towards the elevator, another shuffling noise but behind me. I started to run, and by then I could hear doors shutting behind me as I ran past them. Like heavy doors, slamming one after another on both sides of the unit. I ran so fucking fast and got to the elevator. Turned around, and as the elevator doors closed, that fucking IV pole was in the hallway. I was scared to death. And although I am a spooky girl, I never really believed in the metaphysical as anything. Grounded in reality before that night. By the time I got back to the lab, I was almost in tears. I sat my ass down on a stool at one of the lab benches, and an old, grizzled tech says, "See, you have encountered the hospice unit ghost," and chuckled under his breath. Like, what the fuck? We used to wear monitors as nurses that would show up on a central screen at the nurses' station and say what room we were in. I was working night shift with one other nurse, and as CNA, the monitor suddenly showed 4 unknown people in a patient. The unknown wasn't unheard of. Usually meant an unregistered broadcaster that one of us was wearing, or network lag. But seeing 4 of them was strange. The kicker, I walked over to the room to take a look. The patient inside was still. She had been on hospice, so she hadn't been moving much to begin with. But her pulse ox monitor was at 0% and was not alarming. That is strange. They alarm at 95% or less typically. I walked closer and pulled the monitor off of her finger. It immediately started alarming and functioning correctly. Patient was dead. I walked out of the room and the other nurse was shaking. She said when I walked in the room, 4 more unknowns showed up, and as soon as the monitor went off, they all disappeared. One night while working as a nurse in a hospital, we had a deceased patient. I had to go down to the back door by the morgue to let in a mortician. This mortician was 7 foot easily. He wore a fucking fur cloak like he was Jon Snow or some shit. The entire time I escorted him to the body, he was mumbling to himself. We helped him secure the body to a gurney, and I helped him back downstairs. As he kept talking, I looked over and saw him caressing this corpse's face through the body bag. I realized he had been having a conversation with this individual the entire time. Even before he had seen the body, as we came in, he had been talking to her. As I let him out of the back door, and he turned and looked at me and said, "She appreciates the care you all gave her and wants you to know it meant a lot to her." Once, we had a low census, so an entire half of our department was shut down. We had a total of 6 patients, which meant I was working alone with a single CNAA the far side of a unit. We ran out of a certain 4 fluid, and instead of waiting for pharmacy to send some up, I went over to the closed side of the unit, across the hospital to get one from the med room over there. The unit was dead quiet, except one room had a TV on. As I walked closer to the room, the door opened about 4 to 6 more inches. Not a little, but not a lot. When I looked in the room, the TV turned off, and there was no one there. I walked backwards to the medroom and opened the door and shut it behind me. On the medroom floor, various bags of 4 fluid had been laid out in a clear arrangement of some sort. It was not random, but it wasn't clear letters. I turned to leave and the medroom door would not open. I'm 6'1" and 250. I put my leg up against the wall and pulled as hard as I could. The lights went out in the room and I literally screamed out loud. Don't want any fucking problems with you. The lights came on and the stuff on the floor was gone, back up on the shelf. I touched the door handle and it opened as easy as it ever did. I stepped out of the room and the TV turned on again in the same patient room. I fucking ran across the unit and didn't look back. I never worked that side of the floor again. I refused to go over there, no matter if it was day or night shift, fully staffed or not. I don't know what was there, and I never will. While visiting a friend in the hospital, I decided to take a shortcut through a hallway I had never been down to before. Big mistake. The lights were flickering like they were auditioning for a horror movie. And the hallway was way too quiet for comfort. At the end of the hallway, I saw this wheelchair. You know, the classic abandoned hospital wheelchair trope. Except, it wasn't just sitting there. It was slowly rolling across the hallway, as if someone or something was giving it a gentle push. But here's the kicker. No one was around. Not a single soul. I stopped in my tracks and just stared, trying to decide whether I should investigate or pretend. I never saw it and yeet myself back to the main wing. Naturally, I did the brave thing and booked it the other way. Because if I've learned anything from horror movies, it's that investigating creepy moving objects alone never ends well. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, then smash that like button and subscribe to my channel until we meet again.